Hello everyone, आप हैं रिया के साथ on Mana TV International. You can watch us live worldwide on YUPP network or can subscribe to our Facebook page or YouTube channel as well. Welcome to yet another episode of Healthy Habits. When it comes to healthy eating, there is a question that everyone has all the time. How to eat healthy on budget? And this probably applies to everyone in the community, whether you are a single, married, parent, or student, or retired. Because I think that we all would love to save money, isn't it? The truth is, eating delicious, wholesome food doesn't have to be expensive. We just need to use some tips and tricks, and that can do wonders. So चलिए दोस्तों, आज हम बात करते हैं कुछ बजट फ्रेंडली हेल्दी पिक्स एंड ट्रिक्स की. हमारे साथ हैं डॉक्टर प्रतिभा फाटके गुप्ता. Pratibha ji is a PhD working as a research associate professor in Dayton, Ohio. She's a board certified drugless practitioner and holistic expert. Welcome, Pratibha. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me for this particular important issue. Thank you.
So, Pratibha, we all know that people say healthy eating is expensive. What are your views on this one?
First of all, I think it's a very good and wide question. And to answer this question, healthy habits of eating on budget, right? So it depends on your lifestyle as well, right? So you have to identify which group you fall into, such as, for example, either you're a single mom or, you are a part-time worker, or you are a construction worker, or you are a nurse practitioner, or you're a student, or you're a stay-at-home mom, or you have many children. So based on all the lifestyle, you have to organize that. So healthy habits of eating on a budget, it applies to everything altogether. So there is no simple solution for that. You have to identify how many people you have in your family and what is your lifestyle and what is your budget and what is your, how are you spending money, where and why, and is it necessary? Is it important? Is it absolute necessity? So in that case, then it comes to the part of eating. The interesting part, Ria, I tell you that it is so interesting, and people a lot of have this question. People have money to buy expensive shoes, and buying different things, but or maybe smoking, or if you see that, if you make it a budget out of that, people will not consider as food habits as one of those important issues, which is, I believe, very essential, right? Yes. So depending on your lifestyle, depending on your basic schedule, depending on how many people are involved into it, then you basically consider that as a very important thing. And I would definitely answer any of your questions based on that, Ria. Back to you, Ria.
So what do you think, right? I mean, in the present scenario, health is definitely important, but looking at the situation, jobs, family situations, budget becomes a big thing to consider. So as per you, what, as me as an individual or anyone in a community, what are the options available to them?
Thank you, Ria, for the wonderful questions that what are the options, So first of all, we have to analyze our situation, what exactly we are, whether we have time, what our time schedules are, and also based on our lifestyle, based on our work schedule, we can suggest that, what exactly would be your options. So there is no generic option. So I'm just asking all of you to remember the customized solution for your healthy habits, right? So I would definitely, ask all the audience to wait until the end of this session. So we will be giving you some very good tips at Mana TV International. So back to you, Ria.
So Pratibha, I have heard this term food group. So what exactly is food group, and what should be the selection based out of? If one food group is good for me, one food group is good for you. So what are those selection process? And first, what exactly is food group?
Well, very good question. I think it's not like a session for biology sessions, but I'll tell you, as a layman's language, there are three major food groups, like carbohydrate and fat and protein. Okay, these are called macronutrients. In addition to these macronutrients, you have to have micronutrients as well. So the micronutrients comes from fruit and vegetable groups, right? So in and all, if I may suggest to all our audience of Mana TV International, is that we all have to eat all the things every day. Reason why? Because body is needing. In fact, your cellular metabolism can work only if you have everything all at once, right? So you may feel tired one day, you may not feel tired one day. So you cannot pick and choose every day. So ideally, if you make yourself more organized to read and utilize these macronutrients and micronutrients on a daily basis with a very specialized concern in your mind, this is what I'm going to be eating every day. And for that, you need a planning in the sense, daily planning. So what things I would choose from protein group, what thing I should choose from fat group, what thing I should choose from carbohydrate, and what vegetables and fruits I will be choosing today. So what happens, you don't get bored with eating same thing over and over again, but at the same time, you will be more organized into more creative cooking. I always believe in creative cooking. Creative cooking means that you are not bored with the same old-fashioned food groups, right? So it's just a simple, quick example of that. When you, and I have a good question for you, Ria. If I may ask you is that, say broccoli is good for you, what will be your answer? You might say,
yeah, I mean, broccoli is definitely like, that's what everyone, I mean, I also think that broccoli is good for us. For sure. It's like a healthy green vegetable. But which food group does it belong to? That I don't know.
well, I think it's a very generic answer, Ria. Okay. So the answer should be broccoli may not be good for everyone, correct? Some people who have a deficiency of certain things, or some people who are taking medications, right? So that particular is a cruciferous vegetable. It has a lot of sulfur in there, right? So that person may or may not need that broccoli. So the person needs to have other options of that particular vegetable, right?
Right.
And as I believe you will probably be surprised to know that, see, broccoli is a combination of two vegetables. One is a cauliflower, and one is called as a mustard. That is all, and it is from a Brassicaceae family, and that is why it is called as the broccoli. Broccoli. The cauli come from cauliflower, and broccoli comes from Brassicaceae family. So it is called as a broccoli. So this is more like a hybrid vegetable, a combination of cauliflower and mustard, right? So some people may not see mustard as the vegetable in this group, right? Which is green, and ideally choosing these things are very essential. On the other hand, people say, I eat salad, right? Salad doesn't mean just the lettuce, correct? Salad could be anything in between, right? So which will be giving you in between the tips. So our audience will be waiting for us to give them like exact, pick of their salads. And in other episodes also, we'll be talking about the actual, creative cooking with a low budget as well. So I hope I answered this question, Rhea, for you.
So now comes again on the grocery shopping, because that's what our show is on the budget. So what are your tips? What do you suggest on grocery shopping? Where should we shop, and what should we shop, and how should we shop?
Very nicely done, this question, Ria. And I think I had thought about this, answering this question very intelligently. Number one, as I said, you have to analyze your family structure, right? Based on number of children, based on your family structure. And I think all the audience who are listening to me right now, they should sit down one day at their tables and decide that, health is the most important thing in their lives. Regardless of whoever we are, time is now to change. Even if we have not paid attention to our lifestyle, we have to pay attention to ourselves now. And also give them the benefits of those eating like a plant-based nutrition. Now, plant-based basically more, people sometimes they get scared that, they're expensive, but in reality, it is not. So if you have to choose wisely, you definitely would know how to choose that, right? So based on that, you can organize your shopping. Now, for example, when you go to shop, maybe you should start working on starting off like in a group, in the sense, as we talked about macronutrients and micronutrients. So think about that. So what happens, mentally you're designed and focused to go to those sections only. Otherwise, what happens in majority of the grocery stores, if you go, and I'm sure, Ria, you would definitely agree with me, is that as soon as you enter the grocery store, you'll see a lot of boxed items are right in front of you, right? such as, for example, fast foods, for example, the snacks like the chips, cookies, they're all the way in the front, right? So your
Right.
fat goes right there. And if you go to the right section or the left section of the grocery store, you'll see a very small section is of fresh fruits and produce. Am I correct? Right? But as soon as you enter the store, you'll see the huge cabinets of frozen foods. And I was surprised to see in one of the grocery store I went, there were two frozen aisles of ice creams only. And the other side was cake only. And so I was looking for, frozen vegetables. I could find only in one or two shelves of the frozen fruits and vegetables.
Right.
So you can understand that is a mindset. So we have to keep our mindset very intelligently and keep the groups in the sense which is your macronutrients, micronutrients. So macro comes out all your carbohydrates, fat, and proteins, right? So fat doesn't mean that you have to eat a butter, correct? And I'm sure you probably may have heard of that recently. And scientists has also been very, actively working on that particular thing I'm going to talk about called clarified butter. And the clarified butter is called as ghee in Hindi. And that is also very good. So if you take 1 teaspoon of ghee, which is essential for as a fat component in your diet, and which is good, and that is it is not going to make you anything fatty or whatever. And Ria, I'm sure you probably have heard of this question also. I'm going to talk to you about that too. A lot of people say that, I don't want to eat bread, and because it has no nutrition value. Have you heard this question?
Yes.
So if I may ask you this question, what answer would you be giving to me?
So it all depends, right? I mean, now if we go into the grocery shopping, we have like 1,000 types of breads there, right? I mean, and sometimes that question comes, whole wheat white is good or no, or it's just bleached, or the white bread is definitely, they say it's bad. But other than that, we have oat breads, we have so many different kind of bread. So now we have good selection. But again, we need what we are selecting, right? I mean, because there are so many options there. So that's where confusion starts for a common person. What should we exactly take?
Certainly, absolutely. This is a myth, actually. The whole wheat bread or the bread has a very nutritive value. They're made out of the whole grains, right? The wheat is also grains, right? So, and in addition, as I said, your lifestyle, right? So if you want to lose the weight, then you definitely would have to consider less quantity of that. And if you have to gain the weight, then you have to add your carbohydrate in your diet. So it depends on your lifestyle. So there is no generic selection for anyone, correct? Now, for example, if you don't have time or if you don't have anything, to cook. So if you have a whole grain wheat, that is 100% made out of a lot of whole grains, and grain is necessary. Reason why? Because carbohydrate gives you instant energy, and instant energy is required for cellular metabolism. So you cannot skip the carbohydrates. So it's a myth. So do not skip carbohydrates. Of course, the quantity can be increased or decreased based on your lifestyle, but I would suggest not to, completely eliminate that, because that is an instant energy resource. Such as for protein. A lot of people say, protein, vegetarian protein. If I have to ask you this question, Ria, I would definitely, because the reason why I'm asking this question, because I'm sure a lot of audience who are listening to this time to Mana TV International, they might be having this question as well. That, what is the protein? What is the protein? Do we have any vegetarian protein? So what would you answer for this question, Ria?
I mean, vegetarian protein, I think we would go with pulses, right? I mean, dal, beans, that's where we mostly will get proteins.
And you would be probably surprised to know that, there are proteins, are a variety of proteins. There are multiple beans available, correct? You can say pinto beans, lima beans, and, your grains, your pulses, your green peas, your, soya bean. There's plenty of beans available, right? And in one of my sessions, I will talk about that also, beans, how to create a beans diet, how to create that. We'll talk about that later on. And it's very interesting. So proteins comes from, of course, beans as well. And the protein, which is also soya protein, right? Soya, like tofu. A lot of people don't know about tofu has also high protein.
Right.
Only disadvantage with the soya protein or the tofu is that you must include vegetables along with it. because soya protein has a protein inhibitor, enzyme. So that does not allow to digest the food, correct? Or digest the protein. So in that reality, if you eat tofu along with the vegetables, it's going to be a good source of protein as well. Milk is a very good source of protein, and also your eggs are a good source of protein. And in fact, I already talked about that, And again, one more question I'm going to talk to you about the related to fat group, like a fat oils and and the butter. Any oil which is compressed, should not be used routinely. Which means that, for example, like any of the oils, right? The oils are extracted from compression with a lot of processing done, right? So compression, processing, what happens, the nutritive value sometimes can be eliminated. So you have only oil that may or may not be useful or may not be healthier for you, depending again your lifestyle, right? Again, if you want to lose the weight, if you want to gain the weight, depends on that as well, right? So ideally, if you use any compressed oil, that needs to be like a mindset. Now, I'm going to keep two oils, and I'll give you two oils as a one, good option to choose from. There are two oils that I usually prefer. One is canola oil, and the other one is called as your olive oil, right? Canola oil, I don't know whether you all know about it, or maybe our audience know about that. The canola oil is nothing but a rapeseed oil, okay? Rapeseed used to be used for cattle, and to give them more like a content into their body while they're all the cattle are pregnant, so they give them a lot of nutrition. One of the scientists actually saw that when you soak this rapeseed into your for the processing purposes, they saw some oil coming out from there. So the scientists studied about that. So this particular oil was studied in Canada, and very fortunately, this had a little more nutritive value. And so scientists say, okay, let's go use this oil. And that's how it's called, because it is developed in Canada, this canola. So that is how it is called, canola oil, right? So if you have this concept in your mind, and the canola oil is also called heat sensitive. It's not a heat sensitive. People say it's a heat sensitive in the sense because you can heat the oil without disturbing the property of the oil. So that is why you can use this for frying purposes. So it will not affect. So even if you're frying food into that, so you will not be affected. So I think I make this very good question that if you are, able to use any fat food, which is like frying food, or maybe frying chips or things like that, you can use that oil because it is not going to be affecting too much for you. On the other side, olive oil, right? Olive oil should be used for, frying purposes. It can be used as a very minimal heat, or it can be used as a very limited onto your salads and things like that, because it is very heat labile. Because when you heat it, the property of the oil changes. So it might burn, and it might not be, and it may be a carcinogen then, right? Maybe cancer-causing agent. So that is why you choose very wisely. And knowing about this information can make good selections mindset, right? So I hope this question was answered about the major food groups. And I'm going to talk about the micronutrients as well. So the micronutrients basically comes from fruits and vegetables. So I'll talk about this also in one of the sessions about detailed, information about that.
So again, going back to the grocery shopping and grocery list, what are the tips that you want to give to the audience? Basically having a good health with the budget.
Okay, Ria, I have a good, answer for that. People say that, fruits and vegetables are very expensive. So let's say, for example, if you are on budget, right? So if you buy a watermelon, correct? And watermelon costs about maybe $4 or $5, right? It's a big huge slice, right?
Right.
And for example, a cantaloupe, right? A cantaloupe also is like more like a $3 or $4. Pineapple is more like a $2 or $3, correct? That, right? And banana. Think about banana, right? Banana is not very expensive. Am I correct?
Right.
Now, so how do we say that fruits are expensive? Now, if you have family of 4 and 5, correct? And if you have a one watermelon, if you have $5, if you cut the watermelon, I'm sure at least 5 or 6 people can be served. And good thing is that, Ria, it has a sweet, and it has a water content. It has a lot of minerals and nutrients that can have a good healthy effects on your body, right? Even if you're diabetic, you can still eat it because it has a water sources. It digests very easily. So it is not going to store in your body. A lot of people also have a myth that, if I have a diabetic, then I would not be able to eat fruits like that. But you have to choose because these fruits can give you instant energy. They don't store in the body. And right after, if you do exercise, it will definitely get distributed in your body. It will not store in your body, correct? Watermelon, cantaloupes, they're all good fruits, right? And in fact, these fruits are so good in the sense because you can make smoothie out of it, right? Now you can eliminate juice, correct? You can have these. In fact, I can guarantee you, Ria, if you have one watermelon, big watermelon, and if you can make a juice out of that, you can make 2 jugs of the juice. Correct? Here you eliminated buying the juice from outside. Other people say I drink juice, but in reality, there's no fibers. There's other minerals and nutrients are taking off, right? So you go and buy an orange juice, right, for $5, $6, and it have maybe 3 or 4 glasses, right? Here you can use one watermelon and have multiple glasses of juice. And again, I can give you one tip. And I think our audience of Mana TV International, they should keep coming back to this show. Reason why? Because I'm going to give you another tip of how to eat desserts, ice creams made out of just like this, of these fruits, right? Because these fruits can give you a satiety of ice cream. And in fact, I think, Ria, you probably may agree with me. When you go to buy ice cream, have you ever found any ice cream less than $10?
Oh, yeah,
Right? Even if you go to ice cream shops, right? Ice cream, like, all those fast food ice cream places, small cup costs like $2.50, $3. 2 scoops cost $2.50.
Yeah.
If I add $2.50 plus $2.50, I can have one watermelon or one cantaloupe or pineapple, and I can make juice out of it, and I can freeze and I can make ice cream out of it. And as I said to you, our audience would be very excited about from Mana TV International is that in the next episodes or coming episodes, we will show you how to make ice creams based on these fruits. And you should not forget about that, how to eat healthy habits, right? So, Ria, this was your very good question, healthy habits and buying and shopping. And again, when you buy, the first thing is that the best thing you can do, Ria, our audience should, as soon as they enter the store, go first to the produce section. And I can guarantee you there are a lot of things available. They're not very expensive, such as kale. Have you heard of kale, right? Kale, see red beets with the leafy, shoots out of that. Garlic, onion, ginger. These are such a good, antioxidants, and they're also immune system enhancers, right? And you can make a juice out of red beets, right? Red beets is not very expensive. It's got $2.50, and you can buy the bunch of that 3 or 4 red beets in it, right? And if you can mix watermelon with the red beets or cantaloupe with the red beets, make a juice out of it. And I can tell you, Ria, I was so, kind of surprised that, a few weeks ago, I was visiting the, some relatives' places. So they went on a trip for trailing or tracking, things like that. When they came back, everyone had in their hands a container, water container from juice shop, juicy shop. I don't remember the names of the shops. Each 8-ounce drink costed $4.50.
Wow.
And there were 8 people. Okay. And expense wise, you can imagine 8 people multiplied by $4.50.
Yeah.
You just spent just $40.
Yes.
If I would have been a person, $40, I would have involved all the people all together. Everybody's cutting vegetables, everybody's juicing, and also you have a family structure. You have a good coordination with every one of them. You can have a fun activity, and you know what, you can make tons of juices out of that. And you know what, healthy and made out of you, right? You just made it, and you spent less money. And also think about the containers, the plastic containers. You're actually kind of taking environment in your hands as well.
That's true.
8 containers going to be thrown in the trash. So what I mean to say is that healthy habits not necessarily means that applies just to eat healthier, but again, it's a practice. Practice in the sense that habits means daily, not once in a while. Healthy habits needs to be inculcated in people's minds on a daily basis. And guess what, Ria? I can tell you one thing. If you do something, follow for 21 days, it becomes a habit.
It
And you know
becomes a
what?
habit.
If
Yeah.
one person makes this initiative in their own lifestyle, I guarantee you, you'll be so happy because you're not tensed. You already know your schedule. Today is my day of cooking food, 30 minutes out of my time, right? So you are actually respecting you. Because what happens, like for example, you and I, we are busy people working 10 hours, 8 hours, 11 hours a day, right? So what we can do, we can make excuse. One day we can make excuse, 2 day we can make excuse, but not rest of our lives. We can excuse that
Yeah.
means we are not doing something right. So scheduling is important. And also, we cannot take it for granted our health. We
Yeah.
cannot say, because I was busy 11 hours, 10 hours, I cannot eat well. So Ria, this is so interesting is that, when you're cooking yourself, we can make excuse. We cannot make excuse daily, right? So we know our schedule. We are going to
Yeah.
work, right? So how many days we can make excuse? I did not get a time to cook. I did not get a time to eat. So what happens? You are indirectly hurting your health, right?
Yeah.
So let's go respect ourselves. So when you're respecting yourself, definitely you'll know that I have to cook today and I have to reorganize my time, just like our work schedule. We have to keep some time apart from our regular schedule to make our food. And you know what, Ria? This is going to be such a good thing that you're feeling good about yourself, good health, and also you're respecting yourself that you're cooking for yourself. And what happens when you have a good feeling, the food not only tastes better, but it goes to your body very nicely because your mind is very clean and your mindset is very nicely done, because running, rushing, eating food just as a formality will not make you go anywhere, right? So when you cook the food, eat the food, make sure you respect yourself and have a plate set up and eat food at a proper time, at a proper setting, as well as a responsibility rather than a chore, right? You understand responsibility and
Yeah.
chore. You're
That's
saying.
right. But
Correct.
what about if we do not have good cooking skills, like students, or adult females or adult males, or single moms who do not have time to cook because of the juggling of kids, job, and all everything. So at that time, no cooking skills, still on a budget, we have to maintain the healthy habits and healthy health. So what are the tips on that front then?
Wow, what a good question, Ria. I think you have given me a lot of encouragement to address this. And in next coming up shows, I definitely will give you a good tips about creative cooking, and also on a budget cooking. Also, people who have no skills. In fact, cooking by men. Most of the people think that men cannot cook, but I think there is a good way of doing that as well. And I would definitely give you a very, very smart way of doing that. And I also have been experimenting with some students, with a low budget. And in fact, I will show you also tabletop cooking. You know what tabletop cooking is? That a lot of people say, I don't have a kitchen, correct? A lot of
Yeah.
people live in apartments, right? A lot of people live in a rooms. They don't have a kitchen, proper kitchen. So they have no options, but I will give you very small and very, low budget cooking tips, cooking on the tabletop, which means that you have no excuse to say, I do not have that. The idea, Ria, of this particular show is that life is short, but we can't make an excuse. We have
Right.
to find solutions for that. So I'm here for the solutions. And, Ria, you can ask your audience also if they have any questions, they can send it to you and I can address those questions based on our time slots. And in next few episodes, we'll be talking about, our cooking skills and also how to generate the cooking skill in children. Do you know that, Ria? Healthy habits does not start at age that we are in. Healthy
Yes. Yeah.
habits starts right from the beginning with the
Yeah.
children, right? Younger age, 5, 6 years old. They can do a lot of things like that, right? And
So creative cooking definitely seems exciting, Pratibha. I mean, that definitely, I think, would I would think that that is definitely a lot of people need, and in the budget also, in time constraint also, and all the other life requirements, so creative cooking will definitely be a show that we need a lot of information from you. But again, from today's episode, guys, we got a lot of good information about grocery shopping, about food groups, what we need to see, what we need to do when we go grocery shopping, because sometimes we go and obviously, like, as soon as we enter and we grab some things that are not healthy, but still, like, they are eye catching. So that's where, like, a lot of good information from Pratibha today. Again, we are on Mana TV International. You can watch us live on YUPP Network and can subscribe to our Facebook channel and YouTube channel as well. We would be coming again with a creative cooking show, a lot of good recipes, a lot of good tips on how to stay healthy on budget. Thank you, Pratibha. Thanks a lot for being on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria, and thank you, Mana TV International, for inviting me as a guest, for giving our audience to have these kind of tips. And believe me or not, Ria, in this world today, I tell you that a lot of people are struggling that how to eat healthy, because health is wealth. Health is important. And during Corona time, a lot of people are stranded inside their houses. And a lot of people have lost their jobs. They don't have much money. They don't have much budget. They don't have any resources, but we can make excuse with the health. So I would definitely encourage everyone of, who is listening to us, please keep coming back to these shows, hosted by Ria and Mana TV International. So thank you back again, and we'll see you in the next episodes.